We'll do something in process.
Yes.
Okay, good. And
Great.
1 to 10. Piece of art. It's all Mona.
One of the things that impressed me so much in your performance is how much you clearly had to just strip away inhibitions in order to play a role like this. And I've heard you say that you found the idea of playing this character quite daunting with all the different things it was asking of you, and it really changed the way that you were thinking of working, just focusing at, what's directly in front of me. And I was interested in how you kind of found the way to do that.
Mike?
I'm thinking. Is it working?
Yes.
Is it working? To have the luxury of time and space to sit with something before you have to actively work on it is kind of rare these days, but with this I had that, and I knew about this movie pretty early on in the process and in the developmental phase with Mona, because I'd worked with her a bunch and we have known each other for years, and she brought it to me and sent it to me, and I of course it seemed daunting as anything. I mean, that's just what she does, what they do, Brady as well, very differently, but with the same kind of energy and passion, and I had all that time to really kind of wrap my head around it, but it's the technicalities of playing somebody in the 1770s who has a Manchester accent, which is so foreign to me. It's foreign to really everybody. How do you know how they spoke in the 1770s? You don't. So you just kind of wing it with the design of it by the accent coach. But the point, what you said before, you have to you have to give up your inhibitions to be present. That's it. As an actor, if you have your inhibitions and they're up and the walls are up, you're not going to actually get to the root of the character. You're just not. And some people's versions of characters, when they are insecure in a scene, or they don't quite have it, or they're forgetting the lines, you're not always 100% in every scene, every take, all the time. We're not perfect beings, but if you let go of ego early on, then the things that happen in your life that maybe protect you and make you kind of more watch yourself more, those you can get through it more easily if you don't have the ego. If we bring ourselves to our work, period. That's just what we do. You can't erase yourself. Did I answer the question? I don't know. It was hard, but I also you gotta be present. You gotta be present.
I mean, there's something that you said there about it doesn't always have to be perfect, which also feels like that transcends into the music and the singing, because you've talked about this movie and how it wasn't about just hitting the perfect note, it was about the connection, and that was a very different way to think about sound, and I was really curious what that experience was like for you.
It was so liberating, because Ann Lee, she had a beautiful voice, but she wasn't perfect. She was singing her feeling, and she was connecting to something way more important to her, she was connecting to something holy inside of herself and outside of herself in order to find any kind of sense of peace, because she was so broken, that she was a broken person, and she chose the light as opposed to the dark, and with that kind of passion and love and devotion, whatever sound comes out is beautiful, because it's coming from such love. So it's even I didn't have to worry about how I sounded so much. It was hard to keep my ear from coming in and being no, I'm not gonna suck. Oh God, can we do that again? But what Mona wanted was, she had me laying on the floor of the studio when we were in Budapest, trying to figure out where we might go when we're shooting, and because we hadn't shot it yet, anything. And Beautiful Treasure, I'm so glad you guys have seen this now, so I can talk about Beautiful Treasures. At one point we were singing, I was laying on the floor and I wouldn't even sing it, I'd scream or whatever. They didn't use most of that, but then I got to do it live as well. So I was just exploring every possible feeling, and we left nothing on the table. What's the phrase?
On the table? On the floor?
We left nothing. No crumbs. We just
we left nothing somewhere.
Yeah, there was things and we didn't leave them. But I also, again, the luxury of time and space with all that preparation, dancing in Cecilia Rowson Hall, who's the incredible choreography, lives upstate, and so we would we would rehearse for weeks across from the donut shop, and it was just like it was awesome because I worked really hard and I hate dancing, but I understood it wasn't dancing, it was movement. Like again, it's all holy, it's all devotion, it's all based in like this fucking desperation to be loved and love. And so when you think about that, it's very technical, the accent, singing, and the dancing. If you're scared of it, but if you understand where it is all coming from, it's great.
I mean, with the accent, I have to say, like, as someone who was born and raised in the UK, a Manchester accent is one of the hardest ones to do.
Yeah.
And because, like, the vowels
Yeah.
have, like, multiple sounds, and there's kind of a tone, like a
Do they?
tone. And there's almost like a musicality to the way that it sounds, which you really, really captured.
Yeah.
And I was interested, you mentioned, obviously, you worked with a dialect coach, and I was interested in just, like, the technique and how you found the approach to that.
We found all these, well, she found, I didn't do shit. She found all these recordings of these women that, especially this one woman that she would talk about calling, and I didn't really understand what she was talking about, but she would discuss working in the cotton mill and buying dolls, and they would dress them up, and you could barely understand what she was saying, but she was from Manchester, and it was the oldest record, or the most recent, not the oldest record that we could find of somebody from that area who was born in the 1800s and then died like in the 1920s or something, but there was a recording of that, and so we just listened to it. And then Peterloo, this amazing movie, is all, they're all speaking in a Manchester accent so well, and there's this one character, this day player who just it was one of the most beautiful performances of somebody who gives a damn and is speaking out for the people, and it's so, I mean, it feels so ripe and earnest and connects to so much of what I'm feeling, we're all kind of feeling today. And it was set in the early 1800s, I think, I forget, oh my god, but we would all, like Lewis Pullman and I would watch those sequences, and she was just so charged, and I was like that, and then Tanner and Marshall, the accent coach, would say, this is Ann Lee at the height of her power. And I would take a little bit of that actress, I don't know her name, but she was so beautiful, and like I would take a little bit of that every day when I had to be powerful. When I had to be broken, it was different. You know, obviously Ann Lee, I was 18 and then I was 48 and then I died. She's gone through so much, and like all the things in me, the insecurities of not being able to be powerful or empowered or like, you know, a leader of something, like no one's gonna believe me that way. And I'd watch these things with these people with the right accent, and we would mimic, because at the end of the day, when in doubt, mimic, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I feel like that's kind of, if I'm lost, I mimic somebody until I find my way again.
I love that. And I also wanted to talk about the childbirth sequences, because it's such a formative part to who Ann Lee then becomes. And I know that you and Mona felt like you really didn't want to be compromising on the severity of what that felt like and the emotion that was going to channel, and the way that it's kind of montaged together is so impactful. And I was interested in how the two of you really approached that.
I think there was absolutely no need in telling Ann Lee's story to shy away from anything because of the gravity of what she went through. And to get graphic is to get real. And 15 men walked out of the screening, in one of the screenings in Venice, which was interesting. And I think that's powerful. That's the beauty of something that really happens, like the beauty of honoring something that really truly happens and destroys people. Because it destroyed her, and that is why she became leader of the Shaker movement, the biggest utopian society in American history, which is just no small feat, is because it came from something so traumatic. And like you gotta feel that as an audience. You have to feel that as the artist. And the fact that, I mean, I knew it wasn't real blood. I knew it was a prosthetic birthing vagina. And that's all fun, you know, to put it on and be like, oh, look at me, and like, you know, I have a picture of Lewis Pullman like wearing it. It's absurd. It's like what you do to survive, you know. And putting it on and knowing that it's not real. It's such a luxury. It's not real. But then you really think about the fact that this happens every day, all the time for people. They go through childbirth and they don't have a kid at the end. And it's just like, that is so insane. And this is what she went through 4 times. And 2 of the babies did not die right away, but like still, she has nothing to show for anything. Like, what is her love worth, you know? And it's just so insane. And you have to get that graphic. And there's, I mean, you see movies all the time where there's just like tits and ass, and you're like, it's fun to watch, but sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it feels gratuitous, and it feels a little gross, and you feel like you shouldn't be watching it. But this, to look away, is like, it's human, and then to know that, I don't know, that's what happened. And it was really, it looked good. I thought it looked, it was heartbreaking. Plus the music behind it, of course, you have music behind something, beautiful music, and then.
Yeah, it's so harrowing to see it on screen, but like you said, it's so real, and it kind of gives such a foundation to that idea that she builds this community out of a sense of loss and almost kind of needing that community herself as much as other people need it. And kind of how did that become something that was really important with the idea of community, that it's not just for them, it's also for her.
I mean that's so the question is what?
Like how the idea of community wasn't just about building it for the followers, but it was also something that she really needed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like you can't have a leader who doesn't desperately need it as much as she thinks that everybody else does. You open a door for people and you let them in. And the thing about her, you know, some people would call it a cult. That's not, to me, a cult is something where people feel like they have no choice. They can't come and go. They're stuck in some way and being controlled, and this was the opposite of that. No one was being controlled. I'm not sorry. You and Anne. She, you know, celibacy was the big thing, the big rule, and it wasn't a rule. Like if you didn't want to follow, you didn't have to follow. But it was sort of like she realized that fornication was, obviously you've seen it, like, and you know about her now, that is the root of all loss and desperation and sadness. Not evil. I mean, evil maybe, but mostly just like how you could fall apart because of fornication. And of course it's true. Like sex makes us go nuts, you know. It's true, but it's also, we need it for life, and it can be amazing, and that was like. That was empowering to these people. And sorry, and I digress. The community aspect is the most beautiful part. It's like the best things happen when people work together and people treat each other equally. Because again, also the Shakers it didn't matter who you were, gender, race. Everybody was equal and did as much work as the men did, if she could, you know, with the strength she had. As she got older, she did different things, but she worked as hard as everybody else. Everybody had the same job, and there was no hierarchies for you know, power, like tension with power, and it's such a great idea. It's such a novel idea. The celibacy part is whack. But it makes sense, you know? And the fact that it lasted for so long, there's still apparently 3, last I checked, 3 Shakers left, hopefully more soon. I think it shows that this is what we need. We need community. I mean, making a movie is about community. If we don't get along, the movie's gonna be shit, or the TV show's gonna be awful, and there's gonna be no cohesiveness, and you're gonna not wanna come to work. And if you don't wanna come to work, or if you feel like somebody's bullying you at work, you're not going to want to perform. And so the idea that everybody's created equal, like Mona, yeah, she was the leader. She was Mother Mona to us, and we made fun of her for it because she didn't want to. She's very nurturing, but she's also like, let's get to work. You know, she'd undo my hair at the end of the night. This whole experience was so much a Shaker experience in the way we operated as well. I'm like speaking too much. Okay, thanks. But I really like, I have a lot to say. But it was also such a fucking great, I knew it was going to be great. And I knew it was going to be a great process. And I knew it was going to be a great person to bring to life. And I knew it was going to be great with Mona. And I knew I was going to be safe. And also, you can't make movies like that if you don't have somebody who is kind of in a leadership position with balls, who's brave to like make her vision known and clear, and to get and who you don't trust. It's like it's hard to do. This kind of, I mean, obviously we didn't have a lot of money for it, but we did what we had to do, and we all worked together, and that's why I think it's good. I mean, it's definitely unconventional.
The vision of what she's accomplished with such a limited budget is so wildly impressive, and you can tell that she had to be very specific in thinking about the camera setups or the camera movement. What was that like, kind of being on the other side of a director that just has, this is where the camera's going to be, this is where it's going to move, this is what we're going to have in the scene, that just kind of always knew forthright what they wanted.
There was no stress. I was just like, I was stressed about the weather, I was stressed about how cold I was stressed about 90-minute commute to some places. I was stressed about the smoke and like the toxicity of a film set in terms of like the elements that you have to create. But I could stress about other things and my lines and my accent, because I didn't have to worry about how it was going to look or feel, because she's got a clear vision, and that's also not as common as you would want it to be. And I can be more deliberate than ever right now. I can choose just to work with people that I feel are in the same way, that operate the same way as Mona and Brady, because I have worked with him too. And it's so nice. It's like a warm bath, because there's so much work that I have to do on my own after the dancing and the singing and all that. I have to continue to find the engine every day, and there was times when because we had so little money, she'd be like, "You have to stay an extra 3 days in Budapest," and I was like, "No," and she was like, "I need you to," and I'm like, "Okay." And some of us would be like, "Oh, she fucking got me again. She fucking got me." And I had to call my kids and be like, "I'm gonna be like, just a few more sleeps," and it's just. But you do that for a good art. You do that for a good leader. You do that for someone who trusts you and respects you and your work. Not necessarily the schedule, but she needs to make the movie, and she gets shit done, and that's why she is capable of making a movie like that. Feels very epic, with way less. I mean, God. The stuff that isn't real, I'm not gonna point it out, but there's a lot of it, and it's amazing. Like when we were on by the way, to add to the insanity of how much I had to say when I was on the boat on a set that wasn't moving, I still feel like I had to be like, "There's an angel standing in the mast," and we had to all be moving the same way to show that the ship was like gonna, founder.
Like there's a choreography to it.
Yeah, and the guy couldn't hear me. Sometimes it was too loud in the rain, and then I had to ADR it. But it was like, "You're so bright, angel standing," like she's ridiculous. She's a ridiculous person. It's so funny, and yet it has to be so real for you. But like, this really took me out of it. So it's just interesting. There's a lot of funny anecdotes about because it is kind of funny. I mean, David Kale. What? That guy is one of a kind, and I can't believe he was in our movie. And he actually lives up near me. Big bird watcher. But no, he if anybody is familiar with his performance, like his one-man shows. I mean, he's a one-man show. It's fucking
One finger show.
One finger show. And Mona, that was Mona. That the metaphor is Mona had a finger too. Where's Mona going? Oh, she's going over there. Okay, come. And you follow her anywhere.
One of the scenes that I also wanted to ask you about was the number for "I Hunger and Thirst," because that's this real moment of revelation and feeling like she's being reborn. And there's two versions of that scene. There's the musical intonation of everything that she's feeling and seeing and her visions inside. And then there's the reality of, when her brother comes to pick her up, because she's been fasting, she's been in prison, she's been in solitude. So there's the dichotomy of that. And I was just interested in everything that went into filming a moment like that for the film.
I think we rehearsed that almost more than Beautiful Treasures, and it was just really me. and it's because it had to be so specific, because the camera, it's just the dance between Sam Ellison, the camera operator, beautiful camera operator, and Will Rexer's lighting, and the space that I have in this set, this prison set, and it was a perfect dance, and it had to feel like I was free, and everything came like as I was feeling it, and I was almost like just in some kind of fever dream. But it also was just like I could not move this way too much, but I could move enough, because then the flare of the light would come in and it would be beautiful, but I couldn't think too much about it, because I was just like, I was seeing stuff. I was obliterated, and yet I was singing live. I think they put my recording over it for the movie, if I remember correctly, but I did a lot of that live too. It was so good. It was so indulgent too. I would have done it forever. And I don't feel that way about a lot of scenes. Like with David Fincher, I'd be like, I think I got this. But I didn't know I can't, right? I'll keep going. And then that ends up working better. Like, but it's harder to want to keep going. But with this, I was just like, I don't know, is that I don't know what you asked.
Even just the way that Mona films so many of these scenes and has edited things together, there's a lot of your performance that we're seeing kind of spliced throughout the movie that has voiceover or some of the music overlaying it. And so there's whole scenes that you're playing without lines of dialogue. What does that give you in terms of just the expressionism that you're able to lean into in shooting all of those moments?
Oh, that's just freedom to not have to speak in the Mancunian accent. That's just beauty for me. It depends on the scene, but mainly those moments are just moments of fellowship and communion with her fellow Shakers, and that's just fun, because you're kind of improvising a lot of that. And I have incredible people like Tim Blake Nelson and Thomas and Mackenzie, and we're all like working and doing all these things in these montages, like building and learning how to like do the window sashes and like all this stuff. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm not speaking. The little moment, the little vignettes of how they lived and prospered, which is just so freeing. It's just like, it doesn't feel like work. But then again, you always know there's a challenge around the corner, which is really satisfying. But I'm never not coming into myself and saying, you fucking suck. But that's why I can be good. I can find the truth, because I do have an ego, and it does treat me badly, but it also, I can just be like, fuck you. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about, you're working with Christopher Abbott, who plays Anne's husband, Abraham, and there's such a brilliant scene between the two of them where he essentially says, if you don't give up celibacy, I'm bringing this woman in and she will be my wife now because I have paid her. And what's great is it plays so comedically for the audience, but obviously for the characters, it's incredibly serious in that moment, and she knows that she's ultimately losing her husband for her beliefs. And what was a lot of the emotion that you found in filming a scene like that?
It's so icky, that scene. It's just so unbelievable that he's so out of his mind and could hurt somebody that he, loved for so many years and was devoted to. And it just, I think I don't know, I was feeling a lot of things in that scene. It was just like, I believe that he was going to stay, and I also had this guilt that I don't know, how did I do that? I don't know. I still watch that scene and hate it. I don't hate it, I feel like there was something maybe I could have tried differently, but it's just, we were short on time that day specifically, and Chris had a lot more going on, and I don't, it's not like a competition, like if you got more acting to do, I'm gonna be there for you. It's not like that. It's just I feel like he did such great work in that scene that I didn't feel like it was as hard to get I just had to kind of watch what he was doing, because I think there's a way where she's just kind of in awe of that this is actually being said to her, and this is actually being done in front of her, and this is actually the action he's going to take. And I feel like it's more just awe and shock and nurturing, and not anger, because she just wasn't that. And when I don't have to play anger anymore, it's scary in some way, because anger's a little easier for all of us in terms of as humans, and I feel like as actors, anger can be really much more accessible. And so it's when it's not anger, when it's no judgment, it's just pain. It can be really complicated. And when I'm with another actor who's serving up this really beautiful, authentic trauma, I can only just kind of react. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect
Feelings,
sense.
emotions, anger, grief. It has all of it. It's hard. It's weird to go back into these scenes. I know that's gonna happen a lot when it comes out, but it's fun because I'm like I'm seeing it from a year of vantage point now.
The joy of retrospect.
Yeah.
On it. I mean, also in talking about towards the end of the movie, when their entire community is ravaged and the church is burned down that they literally built with their hands. Again, that kind of goes back to the way that Mona's filming things, because it doesn't matter where in the frame you are, even if it's a wide shot and you're in the corner, it's completely unrelenting in terms of what's happening.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Was that quite an emotional scene, but also quite a physical scene to play for you?
The fire?
Yeah.
That was. Lewis Pullman almost died, I believe. I saved him with the word pineapple, but as our safe word, because it was such an epic. Again, when you don't have money, you got one shot to burn down a building, and there are some holes in the communication that night, and there was some rain, and a lot of ash, and boy, you name it. And it wasn't communicated to the actors. I blame 3 or 4 people, and that's fine. It turned out great. That didn't tell us that we were going to have 4 cameras rolling simultaneously, and if one film rolled out, they would put another one in, but there'd still be another camera going, or 3. And we couldn't break, and we didn't even think about that because there was no preparation for this, because we're like, what's gonna burn? And that's when people can get into trouble. And I'm not saying that I ever felt like I was in trouble, but I was like, how dare, there's another camera that and I would turn around where there were no cameras and roll my eyes and look down at Lewis, when I'm over his body, my merkin, I had nothing on but a taped on piece of hair. Bless you. And it was in his face. And so I thought it was hilarious. And Lewis was picking, and I was like, they're fucking still shooting, we're not stopping. And I would look up, and there's shots where I'm just looking into the camera, and you can't see it, but I'm looking into the camera because I'm like, how the fuck are you still on? We're it's freezing. And it in hindsight, yes, in that night it was funny until I realized that Lewis was hyperventilating. No.
Hyperventilating?
Yes, sorry. Hypothermic, and he wouldn't stop shaking. I was like, Lewis, they can't see you, don't have to shake. And he was like, and I was like, are you okay? And screaming at him because it's so loud. And it's fine because the cameras are seeing me taking care of my brother. It turned out great. He's fine, but I had to yell the safe word because I was like, I'm a team player. I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to ruin a take. But I was like, this is absurd. This is you can't keep rolling. This has been 10 minutes of this. We're cold. I have no pants on, and my cape is like suffocating me right now. And I don't even know if Matthew Beard is still alive. So yeah. Anyway, not to like talk shit about the movie.
Lastly, in talking about Anne Lee's final moments, you know, because like you said earlier, you start playing her as a teenager and then she's in her 40s when she passed away. And it's such a beautiful scene because she talks earlier about how she doesn't fear death because she sees it as being reunited with her children that she lost. So she has something to go towards.
How nice would that be?
And just like,
how nice it would be to feel like heaven is where you want to be. Sorry, that's not what I meant. No dead.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean in terms of like having something to go towards and forward to. You know, and it's the fact that like her lucidity isn't fully there, but it's also kind of seeing her starting to pass over in real time when she talks about having seen her brother come see her. And, you know, I was just interested in all of the emotion and, you know, playing with the idea of lucidity as well within that and everything that went into that moment for you.
I actually backstory was having a hard time personally that day, and I think I decided, I was like, I have to make a choice to use this pain or this exhaustion wanting to get home, because that was after my family had left, and like I just have to use this. And I remember Mona coming, it's one take, you know, one continuous take, which of course, you know, it's hard because if you fuck up you have to do it again, but I remember Mona coming up to me and just hugging me and crying harder because I felt her empathy and compassion for whatever it was unsaid that I was feeling, but was so palpable. And she like looked at me, and I understood that she was just like, use it, but she didn't say it, but I understood that like she was challenging me to use it, and I had to challenge myself to use it because I was just so exhausted. But I realized that scene, you can see it all over me. And also Anne is exhausted and living this other space, this other purgatory kind of, because she's ready to go. And it's beautiful because she's really leaving Mary with such a, I mean, the apples fall off a lot and they go through and they fall off and they go through. And I'm every time I see that scene, because I'm always at the end of a screening about to go up and talk. So I see it all the time. I'm like, go on, but that's what she said apparently. But it's beautiful because it's a beautiful thing to say, and it's a beautiful thing to imagine, and it was just it was all there in the writing and in what I was feeling. I brought more to myself in that scene than I did in the entire movie, and I feel it when I watch it. And actually, in Venice, I cried because I was connecting back to my own personal feelings when I shot the scene, and it was being mixed in with Anne passing away and it being sad for everybody, and then Beautiful Treasures comes in and you see the funeral and you see the kaleidoscope of people moving and the beautiful choreography and Matthew Beard and Thomas, and they're fucking incredible actors. And I was just hysterical at the Venice screenings. It was the first time I'd seen it, and then the lights came up and the headline was like, Amanda gets emotional at the ovation, and I was like, nah. It felt really nice, but I was like emotional because like it's a fucking emotional movie, and I put, you know, I am in it. I'm all over it. My personal shit is all over it, and especially that's the last time you see her speak, and I'm like, oh god, I would never want to go back to that day. But we did a great job. I think it was interesting.
No, it's an incredible film, and it's such an artistic experience, just like the way that it connects you when you're watching it, and a movie that I've been thinking about since I first saw it in Toronto. So congratulations, your performance is absolutely stunning, and thank you for coming out today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We'll do it again next time. Thank you. I hope that stuff gets stuck in your head. The song is good.